Welcome everybody to this webinar in collaboration with the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We are glad that you're joining us today. Our webinar will begin in 1 minute.
Thank you, LeRoy. Gracias. Well, buenas tardes a todos. Welcome everyone to a webinar hosted by the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in partnership with the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce on the topic of COVID-19 economic relief resources for Hispanic and minority-owned small businesses. My name is Richard Garcia. I'm Chief of Staff at the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We're joined by several business leaders who care very deeply about the state of Latino business right now in Idaho and across the country. And we're looking forward to a very fruitful conversation, hopefully learn a lot and share a lot of resources and learn from y'all in the Idaho state about what we can do at the USHCC and together with the leadership of Enrique Rivera as President and CEO of the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to help support Latino businesses in Idaho. So this is a bilingual webinar. We're very excited that we'll be sharing some thoughts both in English and in Spanish. So as you submit questions, as you engage and interact, feel free to share in any language that you feel more comfortable with, and we'll do our best to follow up appropriately. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. You'll notice that there's a Q&A chat box at the very bottom of your screen. That's where you can submit any questions that you may have. And at the same time, there's a chat box function which will allow you to get in touch with us or all attendees at the same time and share any thoughts that you might have there. And we're also going to be tracking the chat box in case there's any questions or important topics that we need to address. So just really quickly, buenas tardes a todos y gracias por acompañarnos esta tarde. Brevemente nada más para compartirles que estamos muy agradecidos estar aquí con ustedes el día de hoy. Mi nombre es Richard Garcia. Soy gerente de operaciones en la Cámara de Comercio Hispana de los Estados Unidos. Nos da mucho gusto colaborar el día de hoy con el Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce y su presidente, Enrique Rivera. Estamos aquí para apoyar a las empresas latinas en todo el país y obviamente incluyendo el estado de Idaho. Y este va a ser un seminario bilingüe y así como van llegando preguntas y respuestas en inglés o en español, nosotros vamos a intentar en la medida de lo posible compartir con ustedes la información correspondiente como lo vayan mandando. Entonces, si tienen alguna pregunta o alguna duda, utilicen la modalidad Q&A que está hasta abajo. Salen dos globitos y ahí pueden ingresar preguntas y los vamos contestando. Y usando la función de chat también pueden platicar ya sea con todos los que están presentes o con nosotros como panelistas. Y vamos a estar monitoreando también ahí para ver si hay alguna pregunta que surge por ahí. Pero now it's my pleasure and it's our honor to introduce Enrique Rivera, who's President and CEO of the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Enrique, muchas gracias, and please take it away.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, everybody. Gracias a todos. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate, on behalf of the entire Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce across the state, we welcome the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to this webinar and appreciate you guys joining us and helping us with this partnership that we have and bringing this webinar to all our Hispanic-owned businesses and small businesses across our entire state. Thank you to everybody that's registered and can join us today. I think we're going to have some great feedback and information that's going to help all our small businesses. Bienvenidos a todos. Le damos la bienvenida a la Cámara de Comercio Hispana de los Estados Unidos. Tenemos a Richard, tenemos a Ramiro Cavazos, el presidente y CEO de la Cámara de Comercio de Estados Unidos, a LeRoy Cavazos-Reyna, que es también con nosotros de la Cámara de Comercio Hispana de los Estados Unidos. Y LeRoy es el vicepresidente of Government and International Affairs. Y también tenemos con nosotros al cónsul Ricardo Gerardo Higuera, aquí de Boise, del estado de Idaho, que también está con nosotros. Y más adelante también nos va a acompañar el gobernador Brad Little, estará con nosotros. Once again, thank you, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce Richard Garcia, Chief of Staff, who has been a great support with the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We also have Ramiro Cavazos, President and CEO of the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce with us, and LeRoy Cavazos, Vice President of Government and International Affairs, and then Consul Ricardo Gerardo Higuera, here locally in Boise for the state of Idaho. So thank you, everybody. We're excited to be here today. Le vamos a dar, we're going to give Ricardo, we're going to open it up for Ricardo to say a few words on behalf of the Consulado here in Boise. So, Ricardo, bienvenido y le damos la bienvenida y gracias por acompañarnos hoy. Y le damos para que diga unas palabras, por favor.
Muchas gracias. Buenas tardes a todos. I will speak in Spanish. Bueno, pues primeramente quiero agradecer la invitación que nos hace la Cámara Hispana de Comercio de Idaho a este pertinente evento, y tan de alto nivel, con la presencia de nuestros ponentes LeRoy y Ramiro Cavazos. De verdad creo que va a ser de muchísima utilidad para los pequeños empresarios hispanos de esta circunscripción, concretamente del estado de Idaho. Quiero comentar que el papel del consulado en este periodo de afrontar el COVID-19, de esta pandemia, pues ha sido en primer lugar informar a la población mexicana, hispana, de todas las medidas referentes a cómo a enfrentar el COVID-19, medidas de todo tipo, y por supuesto asistir a nuestra población, asistirla en todos los sentidos. El consulado tiene un programa de acción. Nosotros desde el principio tuvimos un programa de acción, un plan de acción para dar seguimiento a esta contingencia. Y bueno, aparte de, ya hablando específicamente de este sector de los pequeños y medianos empresarios hispanos o mexicanos, en primer lugar, pues la función del consulado pues ha sido, obviamente, en la medida que es posible, mediante una estrategia de emergencias, en fin, es atender con los documentos esenciales, con todos los servicios consulares, a nuestros pequeños y medianos empresarios, que son fundamentales, obviamente, para la apertura de pequeños negocios, para dar seguimiento, por supuesto, a todo lo que es también un negocio. Entonces, además de nuestros servicios sustantivos de documentación, que son documentos de identidad más que nada, para aperturar algunos negocios, también tenemos lo que son las ventanillas de apoyo que le llamamos nosotros, que son programas, dentro de las cuales está la ventanilla financiera. Y en lo que es ventanilla financiera, pues tenemos también nosotros con nuestros aliados estratégicos, como es la Cámara de Comercio Hispana de Idaho, pues tenemos asesoría grupal, individual, a los pequeños empresarios mexicanos acá, en lo que tiene que ver con los documentos necesarios, hay unos muy necesarios, como son la matrícula consular, por ejemplo, que es un documento de identidad que para abrir cualquier negocio es de muchísima utilidad, pero también para abrir cuentas de bancos, para aperturas de cuentas de ahorro y cheque, educación financiera, pago de impuestos, carga financiera, establecer, pagar o reestructurar un crédito en Estados Unidos, reducir deudas y negociar con acreedores, entre otras cosas. Todo esto lo hacemos, como decimos, con nuestros aliados, en coordinación con nuestros aliados estratégicos. Y otra función del consulado es el enlace que hacemos entre empresas de Estados Unidos, de esta circunscripción, y estados de la República Mexicana, empresas, entre contrapartes, hacemos esos enlaces, instancias de gobierno, con asuntos comerciales, turísticos, y damos asesoría y compartimos guías de ayuda financiera que son de gran utilidad para nuestros connacionales. Y tenemos ahí incluso contemplado el tema de lo que son las remesas, un tema muy importante en este momento, hoy por hoy, porque pues, hay que comentarlo, se pensaba que iban a disminuir el envío de remesas a México de nuestros connacionales, y la verdad es que se incrementó en este primer trimestre del año en un 35.8%, que eso sumado a la nueva paridad del peso con relación al dólar, representa un incremento en el poder adquisitivo de las familias que recibieron estos recursos de un 52%. Algo muy importante que tiene que ver obviamente con apertura de negocios allá y en ambas partes. Bueno, finalmente,
gracias, Consul.
como sé que tiempo, ¿sí? Quiero decirles que también una labor importante de nosotros, consideramos, pues es compartir, informar a nuestros connacionales de los programas del gobierno federal y del gobierno estatal y de todas las instancias acá en Estados Unidos, de compartirla en nuestros sitios de información, compartirla a nuestros aliados, los pequeños empresarios mexicanos. Entonces, como este tipo de eventos, y bueno, pues estamos a la orden, estamos pendientes. Por lo pronto yo diría eso. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Cónsul. Gracias por su participación y por la información. Seguimos con Ramiro Cavazos. It's a pleasure to introduce Ramiro Cavazos, CEO for the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. It's an honor. We wish we could have you here in person and your team. But you know, during this time, you know, this is the way we're doing it. But we hope that in the future you'll be able to come visit our great state here in Idaho and visit us so that we can show you that we have more to offer than just potatoes. You'll fall in love with our state, I'm sure. So hopefully in the future we'll have you and your team over here present. But in the meantime, Ramiro, I appreciate you and your team so much. Thank you for being here with us today. And I'll let you take over and say and speak to our audience.
Well, thank you, President Enrique Rivera, for the kind invitation to join the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for this webinar to talk about the importance of sharing knowledge and resources to help our Hispanic-owned businesses in the state of Idaho, and many of them your members. I want to also thank everyone that's joined us from your membership on this webinar. In particular, I want to thank LeRoy, who's our head of government affairs, and Richard Garcia, who's our chief of staff, for their assistance today in making sure that we share information to your members. I want to thank the Consul General for his service. Consul Higuera, thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you for your service to our Mexican immigrant community and the Mexican American and Latino community in the state of Idaho. I'll also be honored, Enrique, to be joined by Governor Brad Little later. De parte de la Cámara Hispana de Comercio, es un honor para mí felicitarte, Enrique, por esta presentación y información que vamos a difundir a los miembros de la Cámara de Idaho Hispana. Es muy importante durante este tiempo el liderazgo tuyo ahí en el estado de Idaho, pero más que nada el apoyo y el respaldo que le estás dando a los miembros de la Cámara. Y nos representas muy bien, nos da mucho orgullo estar aquí contigo y cuenta con nosotros en el futuro en presencia, en persona. Vamos a acompañarte allí en Idaho. Quiero agradecer a LeRoy Cavazos, mi colega, que no somos familiares, yo creo somos parientones de Sur Texas originalmente, pero quiero también darle las gracias por el trabajo del gubernamental para hacer los esfuerzos el nivel federal para el apoyo necesario, y al señor Garcia, que él es originario del estado de California, por ser el gerente de operaciones de nosotros. Consul, no tengo las palabras para decirle bien el agradecimiento que yo tengo por su trabajo ahí durante estos tiempos difíciles para la comunidad mexicana y los inmigrantes y la comunidad latina y los mexicoamericanos que yo sé están en el estado de Idaho. Su oficina, yo sé, es algo importante para tener esa conexión, para estrechar las relaciones, no nomás de México con los Estados Unidos, pero el apoyo que le está dando usted a la Cámara, al señor Rivera y a la comunidad allí en Idaho. I want to just say that it's my pleasure to share that the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce that I work for as the president and CEO is a 40-year-old organization that has 250 Hispanic chambers around the country. Each of them is critical during this time. We have chambers from Honolulu, Hawaii, all the way to Rhode Island, from Miami to Wisconsin, and from Seattle all the way down to the Rio Grande Valley. So we are blessed with a strong chamber network that that Enrique Rivera represents. We also want to share that we have 4.8 million Hispanic-owned businesses that form an economic impact of more than $800 billion on the U.S. economy, and over 60 million Latinos living in the U.S. At least 1 out of every 6 that are living here are Latinos and are the future of the economy. And last but not least, we have more than 100 corporations that are members of our chamber because they believe that they need to share their dollars with our vendors, their workforce. It's critical that they employ our talented and hardworking Latinos, and also we're the consumers of the future for this country. Quiero agradecer de parte de la Cámara Hispana de Comercio Nacional que estamos establecidos en Washington. Tenemos más de 40 años de trabajar y representar más de 250 cámaras hispanas sobre los Estados Unidos, desde Hawaii hasta el estado de Nueva York, de la Florida a Wisconsin y al estado de Washington, en Seattle, hasta el Valle Mágico de Sur Texas. Para mí es un orgullo representar las cámaras y tener el apoyo del señor Enrique Rivera de la Cámara Hispana de Idaho. También tenemos más de 4.8 millones de latinos que son empresarios de su propia compañía. Estos empresarios están pasando por un tiempo difícil ahorita y por eso tenemos este webinar para apoyarlos a todos ustedes que nos apoyen. Y finalmente, lo que representamos, el impacto económico a más de 60 millones de latinos, 1 de cada 6 americanos. El impacto bruto de la economía del latino es más de 2.3 mil millones de dólares. El impacto nacional, que es más de 10% de la economía americana, que es la economía más fuerte de todo el mundo. Y último punto, tenemos más de 100 corporaciones que están invirtiendo en las compañías de nosotros como proveedores de productos y servicios que nosotros representamos de la Cámara del señor Rivera y en Idaho. Estamos ofreciendo servicios y también representamos las corporaciones porque están buscando empleados con el talento y el éxito que nosotros ofrecemos, y el consumidor hispano es el consumidor más grande y el crecimiento se está detonando las compras de nuestra comunidad gracias a los hispanos. My last point that I wanted to share before we open it up to questions and hear from others Mr. Rivera, is that at the Hispanic Chamber, we have been working hard with our team to advocate for more PPP funds, the program protection dollars. The payment protection plan has been critical for our community. We've put close to $700 billion into the economy to make sure that we provide the liquidity to our small businesses. We are seeing that many of our small businesses are not getting the help that they need. The federal government needs to require the Small Business Administration to make sure that we ask if an applicant for a loan is Hispanic. That way we can track that data. Right now, we are not able to track the data only by state and by dollar amount. So we've been working hard as advocates at the federal level to make sure that we address the immediate needs of this COVID crisis. And the last point I wanted to say is we believe that our finest days are ahead. As a community, we are resilient, we are strong, and we've gone through many crises. As Latinos, we often realize that we might be at the table, but the table is tilted away from us at times, and we need to be aggressive, assertive, and have strong self-esteem to make sure we get our part. De parte de la Cámara, finalmente quiero decir, hemos peleado muy fuerte de parte de nuestros miembros en Washington porque necesitamos que luchar porque esta comunidad muy fuerte, muy productiva, es una comunidad que no tiene representación con igualdad en los préstamos que se han otorgado de los bancos. Hemos visto con el programa de la protección de la nómina que los dólares que se pelearon para recaudar más de 700 a 1,000 millones de dólares para nuestra comunidad, hemos visto que esos dólares no se han otorgado a nuestros miembros. Entonces quiero agradecer el trabajo del señor Rivera y la Cámara porque tenemos que encontrar y empujar que esos dólares se revisen cuando uno va a un banco y está pidiendo un préstamo, que se den cuenta que es un latino y esa clarificación nos va a dar mejor apoyo para tener los datos para probar que los préstamos se están otorgando donde se deben de otorgar. El final punto que quiero decir es que vamos a seguir luchando no nomás para el programa de la protección de la nómina, pero también en años en adelante yo miro que la comunidad latina muy fuerte, pero afectada con este virus, vamos a salir más fuertes, más fuerza, porque hemos pasado por tiempos difíciles como comunidad, pero el futuro de este país depende mucho a nuestros empresarios y estamos viendo con la ayuda de ustedes allí en Idaho que tenemos que consolidar los esfuerzos, no más del sector privado y los bancos, pero nuestros gobiernos para representarnos y para ofrecerle la liquidez que se necesita de nuestros empresarios. Entonces, para mí, muy agradecido estar aquí con ustedes y representar la Cámara Hispana de Comercio. I'm very honored to be here representing the Hispanic Chamber. Our chairwoman is Carmen Castillo. She's a native of Spain and is our chair of our board, and we're very grateful. Estamos muy agradecidos con nuestra presidenta del Consejo, Carmen Castillo, que finalmente es una inmigrante, es una representante de una empresa como muchas en los Estados Unidos que están peleando y luchando para los miembros del presidente Enrique Rivera ahí en Idaho con la Cámara Hispana. So we're very grateful to be here, Enrique. I'll give this back to you, and I want to thank our Consul again for his leadership and his time. Estamos a la orden con la gente que nos está escuchando para ofrecer información o dar respuestas a preguntas.
Thank you so much, Ramiro. Again, on behalf of the entire Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, our board, our executive committee, that have been working really hard over the last couple of days to put this together. All our members, our sponsors, our partners. I know we have some partners here on the line as well. We have the Idaho Latino Scholarship Foundation. We have the Community Council of Idaho and many others. But most importantly, Ramiro, on behalf of all our Hispanic-owned small businesses across the state, thank you, and we look forward to sharing this information as we go into these questions, as we see some questions coming in. Una vez más, gracias, Ramiro, de parte de la Cámara de Comercio Hispana, de toda la mesa directiva. aquí con nosotros, de todos nuestros miembros, nuestros sponsors, pero más importante, de parte de todos los empresarios hispanos pequeños aquí en el estado de Idaho, de todo el estado. Tenemos representantes de todo el estado para escuchar la información que vamos a compartir ahora, contestar preguntas y hablar sobre los fondos disponibles, ya que estamos abriendo otra vez y negocios empiezan a abrir en el estado. So, Richard or LeRoy, you guys want to?
Sure. Thank you so much, Enrique and Ramiro Consul, for your remarks. And so what we'll do now is we'll kick off the Q&A portion of the webinar. A reminder to use the Q&A feature or the chat box feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen in order to submit questions. We've seen a couple of them already come in and trickle in, so thank you so much for sending them over. Nada más recordarles y agradecerle al cónsul sus palabras que reflejan su compromiso con la comunidad latina y mexicana, sobre todo en Idaho y en sus circunscripciones que representa en el Consulado de México en Boise. Y al mismo tiempo recordarles al auditorio que tenemos la función de Q&A y chat box hasta abajo para poder ingresar sus preguntas. Y ya hemos estado recibiendo algunos y con esto damos inicio al Q&A. I guess, LeRoy, this is a question more in terms of advocacy, but of course open to anyone that's willing to chime in here. Ben Reed asks, is there a way to lobby Congress to offer some type of loans or grants or subvenciones to those businesses that have been established with only ITIN numbers? We have dozens of our local businesses in that situation. So maybe we can share a little bit about what we're doing about helping those folks that have ITIN numbers.
So Richard, that's actually a great question. And the answer to that question is that we are the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce under our policy platform of immigration. We have been actively engaging and having the conversation around businesses that are in this situation or businesses who are currently in the United States operating on visas. And we are definitely advocating for those measures. Right now, what I recommend is that those business owners go and apply for EDIL or Economic Injury Disaster Loans on behalf of the SBA, and making sure that those are applications go through your financial institution so that you can try to acquire some of that funding. La pregunta que se ha postulado es que si nosotros tenemos la habilidad como empresas hispanas que a lo mejor tenemos una visa o no tenemos un documento formal de residencia para los Estados Unidos, que si nosotros podemos aplicar para los fondos gubernamentales. Y la pregunta es, la respuesta para esa pregunta es que la Cámara de Comercio Hispana de los Estados Unidos ha estado abogando ampliamente para que estos recursos se abran a empresarios que están en esta situación. Yo les recomiendo que apliquen para los fondos que ahorita están otorgando el SBA, los préstamos de desastre. Podrá ser que esos préstamos sí se puedan aportar para este tipo de negocios. Sabemos que en el estado de Idaho también el gobernador va a tener un mecanismo de programas para las pequeñas empresas y junto con el liderazgo de Enrique y el cónsul, nosotros vamos a apoyar que esos fondos también se abran a ese tipo de empresas. Así es que es muy importante que se queden en comunicación con su Cámara de Comercio Hispana allí en Idaho. Richard, ¿tenemos alguna otra pregunta?
Sí. Thank you, LeRoy. The next question is from Ernesto Pinal, who asks, I understand that the first phase of the Small Business Administration loans under the special program, I'm sure he's referring to Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, went into mid-sized companies. How is the second phase structured to secure better access of those funds to be really available to small businesses or micro businesses that are the ones that need them the most? Should applicants better go to local or community banks to have better chances to have access to these loans? Y en español brevemente está preguntando Ernesto Pinal que referente al programa Paycheck Protection Program, que se entendió que la mayoría de los préstamos en la primera ronda se fueron de empresas que se consideran de mediano tamaño, en vez de las pequeñas empresas, y qué se está haciendo en la segunda ronda para asegurarse de que ese apoyo económico llegue a las verdaderas pequeñas empresas del país.
So the answer to that question, and it's a great question because it is true that the first stimulus money ran out very quickly. And so the USHCC, along with many other groups across the country, including our network of more than 250 Hispanic chambers, advocated for a funding set aside or an allocation to minority depository institutions and CDFIs across the country. And we succeeded in that advocacy fight, and we got $60 billion added to that funding, of which 30 billion, 50% of it was set aside for community development, financial institutions, minority banks, credit unions, and smaller regional banks. We are continuing to advocate for more appropriated money from Congress to be given to these types of financial institutions. We understand firsthand that this is the first stop for a lot of our Latino business owners across the country, especially micro businesses that have 10 employees or less. So the answer to that question is yes. If you're near a CDFI, if you're near a credit union, if you're near a regional bank, please go and try to get help from them, because they have funding as we speak, and they're probably going to get more funding in the near future. I think right now is also an important time, Richard, Ramiro, and Enrique, to highlight that this is a time for us to be working with America's financial institutions. This is not a time for us to shy away from calling our bankers and taking advantage of the relationships that we have with our banks. A lot of people paint the banks in this country in a negative light, but yet they're the ones that are there helping our small business owners and helping us see the light at the end of the tunnel. We also need to understand that this is an unprecedented time in our country. Just like us as business owners, as nonprofits, we didn't know how to navigate these times. Well, the banking sector didn't know how to navigate these times either. They got very preliminary guidance from Treasury and from the SBA. So we must continue to collaborate with America's financial institutions to make sure that we're at their table and that they're helping us, because quite frankly, they want to help us. They want to help our community, and they want to help small business. I know that it's a waiting game, and I know that it's tough to have that conversation right now when so many businesses are suffering. Estoy destacando que ahorita es el momento que nosotros como empresarios necesitamos tener una línea de comunicación completamente abierta con nuestros banqueros y las instituciones financieras en este país que tienen el poder de otorgar estos préstamos. Ahorita no es un tiempo en este país de temerle a los bancos o de pintar a los bancos en una luz desclarecida. Necesitamos ser muy claros de lo que nosotros necesitamos de nuestras instituciones financieras y de nuestros banqueros. Ellos nos quieren ayudar. Todos ahorita estamos navegando por territorios desconocidos y nuestros bancos también están en esos territorios desconocidos. Entonces, que ahorita es el tiempo donde nosotros necesitamos trabajar con nuestros bancos y estar con ellos en sintonía para que ellos nos puedan ayudar, porque la realidad es que esos bancos nos quieren ayudar y ellos están tratando de llegar a soluciones para otorgarnos esa ayuda.
Gracias, LeRoy. Thank you, LeRoy. This is we're receiving a lot of questions about the Idaho Rebound Cash Grants for small businesses, and maybe this is something that we can lean on Enrique and the Idaho business community for more details. But one, Lourdes Gonzalez asks if we can provide additional information about the Idaho Rebound Cash Grants for small businesses. Are there any provisions there for minority-owned businesses? And Jose Alfaro asked a similar question, asking concerns the Idaho grants that will be opening up very soon. From what they read and understand, they wouldn't qualify for the grants for the state of Idaho because they don't have any employees and don't take a paycheck he doesn't take a paycheck for himself. So basically, if we can help provide a little bit of clarity around qualifications and requirements and all of that, Enrique, for the Idaho Rebound Cash Grants, if possible.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, Richard. So I think when it comes to the Idaho Rebound Cash Grants that start on Monday, May 11th at noon to apply, we'll leave that open maybe for the governor. The governor, when he comes on, I'm sure he'll speak to that, to the cash grants. Para los grants de Idaho que empiezan el lunes a mediodía para aplicar, el gobernador cuando entre va a hablar un poco sobre eso, pero nosotros podemos seguir apoyándolos y ayudándoles con esos que empiezan el lunes a mediodía. If you go to the website, and maybe we can put it on there, Richard, it's rebound.idaho.gov. So rebound.idaho.gov. Tiene toda la información. That has all the information, the most current information on how to apply. We do know that it's set aside, $300 million are set aside by Governor Brad Little for small businesses. And the eligible businesses are going to be sole proprietorships, partnerships, C Corps, S Corps, LLCs, 501c3 nonprofits, 501c6 organizations, 501c19 veterans organizations, and tribal businesses, which is section 31B2C of the Small Business Act. So all those are eligible, and they're going to open it up on Monday for businesses with employees of between 1 and 50 employees for the first week. So starting on Monday. But we can talk more about that when the governor speaks. In terms of the Idaho, the rebound funding and the grants.
Thank you, Enrique. The next question talks about the documentation that's required to apply for economic relief. We have someone that asks, it's important to emphasize that one critical part of these special loans is the payroll component, and hence having that information ready and well documented is fundamental to facilitate the access to the loans. If you can elaborate on that, it would be very helpful.
So I can take that question, Richard, and yes, you're absolutely right that it's important because the Paycheck Protection Program was designed specifically for that. It was designed so that people could stay on their payrolls, so that business owners could keep employees on payroll and defer people from applying for unemployment. To date, over 23 million Americans have applied for unemployment. So the point of the Paycheck Protection Program was to keep people on payroll. So the things that you all need to know as business owners so that those loans can be forgiven is 1, 75% of any paycheck protection loan that you get needs to be used for payroll. So the best example is if I get $10,000 as a paycheck protection loan, I need to use $7,500 of that $10,000 for payroll alone. The rest of the money can be used to pay your rent, to pay operational costs, to pay your like light bill, water bill, telecommunications bill, or it can be used for operational costs like to buy more merchandise. But 75% of it, or $7,500 of a $10,000 loan, must go to your employees to keep them on payroll. The other question has been, what about if I've already had to furlough my employees or let some of my employees go? If you get a Paycheck Protection Program loan, you need to bring those employees back. And so that's super important for you all to understand and to bring to light. And right now, Enrique, I think it's a great time. I see Governor Brad Little joining us. Welcome, Governor Little. Thank you for being with the Idaho Hispanic Chamber. So I'll turn it over to you, Enrique, to formally introduce the governor.
All right, thank you.
It's me, I'm up.
Yes, Governor Brad Little, thank you. Enrique Rivera here, President and CEO of the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for joining us today, Governor. We have with us here Ramiro Cavazos. He's the President and CEO of the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We have Richard Garcia, his Chief of Staff with the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We have the Consul Ricardo Higuera here from Boise, here in the state of Idaho. And then we have LeRoy Cavazos, who's the Vice President and Government and International Affairs for the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And of course, most importantly, we have Hispanic-owned businesses and small businesses from across the state of Idaho, Eastern Idaho, Central, Northern, here on this webinar. So we appreciate you taking time, Governor, to join us here and say a few words. Everybody, I can tell you everybody's excited about your rebound.gov Idaho initiative that you're doing and starting phase 1 that we started on May 1st here in Idaho and opening back up. So we're super excited about that, Governor. We're excited about the 300 million that you're opening up starting on Monday at noon. I think a lot of our Hispanic-owned businesses will be able to benefit from that haven't received any kind of funding, Governor. So thank you, and I'll let you speak to that and say a few words here on behalf of our state.
Well, thank you, Enrique. And I just want all the businesses to know that we want to get this economy going as soon as possible. And when I talk to business leaders, they're all anxious, but they also are keenly aware of what happens if their employees don't show up for work or their customers don't show up. So I have to balance. People say, well, the healthcare and the business, and they're different. They're not different at all, because if your employees or your customers don't show up, you have no business. And so we want to be in Idaho, continue where we are. We were one of the last states to have community spread, and we're one of the first states to start out of it. And we've been very, very fortunate that our citizens have been so compliant and respectful of their fellow citizens by self-isolating, by practicing better hygiene, by doing all those things that put us from an area where we had community spread in a lot of areas and down to an area to where we think we can manage it and we can go forward. Every small state got about 1.2 billion from the federal government. We were the first state to say, we know, as you said, Enrique, there's some people that have fallen through the safety net and didn't have any kind of a boost to keep them going. And that's why we put together our Idaho Rebounds grants. I see that Governor Bullock, I got on a call with governors yesterday, and he was talking about this wonderful program, and I didn't call in, but I said, that sounds pretty familiar. It was our program.
Right.
But to start from no program to have a program takes a lot of work. We did it through the Idaho Tax Commission because anybody with employees already have an account. They already have a number there. Governor Bullock's doing his through the Department of Commerce, and that's going to create complications. So if your members have employees and they didn't get the SBA loan or PPP, then they're going to qualify. We think that's very important. I know $10,000 is not a lot of money, but it should help. And today in Idaho, 90% of businesses are available to be open. In 9 days, if we continue having good luck, 95% of businesses will be able to be open. But that doesn't mean that all the employees are going to show up or that the customers are going to show up. So we have to do this in an orderly fashion, and that's what we intend to do. There will be some companies that won't qualify for this because of the criteria that you had to have at least one employee to qualify for that. And I can't write a program on a week or 10-day basis that address every single circumstance, but this should help because this is money that we want to get into the hands of businesses to kickstart the economy, to keep it going. We have got to keep people safe. My goal is to keep people safe, to allow people to prosper, which is a real problem, and to get kids back in school in September. Those three things are my high priority. And if I don't contain the COVID virus, our ability for school to be successful won't happen. As you're well aware, our compulsory rules for schools in Idaho are pretty lax compared to a lot of other states. And it doesn't do me any good to have schools open if these kids don't show up. And I am very worried about the kids that have challenges. The school is absolutely essential for. I was hoping, instead of being on this call, to be traveling all around the state and seeing the results of our literacy initiative, of our education initiative, of all those other things. But unfortunately, I'm here wrestling with this coronavirus. But that's what I signed on for when I became the chief executive officer. But with that, if anybody has any questions, I'll try and answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, Governor. Again, we appreciate your time. I know you're busy, and you know, I came on board end of last year too, and I didn't sign up for this either. But this is what we have in front of us, right? So it's what we have in front of us. So we've been trying to do our best. We do appreciate. We have a lot of Hispanic businesses that, unfortunately, for one reason or another, haven't been able to get any funding. And I can tell you, a lot of them have under 50 employees, and 10,000 is going to go a long way, a very long way for them. One of the questions we keep getting at the Hispanic Chamber from across the state, Governor, is if you've considered maybe out of the 300 million, maybe setting aside some for Hispanic-owned businesses, you know, maybe a small percent or a 10% mark for Hispanic-owned businesses to apply.
Well, first off, I'll let Alex Adams, my administrator for EFM, who's in charge of this program, talk about it. But we have not spent all the money. We are keeping some of the money back to perhaps plug holes that we think we have somewhere. Our goal is to create as much velocity as possible, particularly for small business, and that's why we did this. But I'll let Alex Adams.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you today. My name's Alex Adams, and I'm administering the coronavirus financial relief funds, as the governor mentioned. He had 2 points I'd make. In terms of how we got to $300 million, we had an estimate that approximately 30,000 Idaho businesses had fallen through the gaps of PPP fundings. We know 26,000 Idaho businesses had received funding through PPP in both rounds 1 and 2, and we believed the remaining gap to be on par with the level of funding that we set aside. So if a Hispanic owned business is one of those that qualifies and fell through the cracks, it's likely that funding will be available to them based on how we calibrated this program. $1.25 billion, and we've been pretty disciplined in how we've spent that. The governor's top priority was small business, and that's why our biggest investment today has been small business. The rest of the fund is generally intended to cover direct government expenses, and we've been pretty frugal there. We would rather get this to small businesses than cover government bills. And we've kept about $750 million in reserve for additional investments. And if we get on the other side of this and identify that there's other businesses that had gaps that aren't otherwise covered by federal programs or pandemic unemployment assistance, we're all ears and happy to take another bite at that apple. So stay tuned. We look forward to any feedback that you and your membership might have for us.
Well, thanks, Alex. And I want to add, you know, those businesses are really a great connection for the Latino community. And if we are missing something, let us know. Let Bobby Joe on my staff or anybody else know, because this whole system only works if I and the rest of the state are making, because that confidence for people to show up, to go to work or show up as customers is predicated on a confidence level that is all this information that comes into me that I have to digest and make literally dozens of decisions every day about when can a rodeo open, when can you know, what's the spacing for a campground, a lot of decisions that I probably wasn't trained for as a cattle rancher. But as we do that, we want to make sure that the people of Idaho have faith in those decisions that I'm making, or at least know why. They may not like the decision, but I have an obligation to explain to people, and that's why the Hispanic Chamber is so important to me, because from the onset, when I first started working with the Chamber, I found that your input into my thinking has been critical. And as I always talk about Idaho, that, you know, with the exception of 2 or 3 companies, every big business in Idaho started with a very small business. You know, Micron was 2 brothers from Blackfoot, Idaho. As of course, Mr. Simplot, Albertsons, the companies in Idaho all started with a small business. And I want that success, that entrepreneurialism that exists in small businesses to continue to flourish, because we may miss the next one if one of them falls through the cracks and has to start all over again. So feel free to contact us. I really appreciate your input in the past, and it's even more important now. So anything I can do to get the confidence of your customers, of your businesses, of your employers, reach out to us, because we want to know.
We appreciate that, Governor. Just you, I just want to say thank you. Just you being on this call today with us, I can tell you it's a big boost of confidence for our Hispanic-owned businesses across the state, and knowing that that you've always been a good listener for us, and you've always helped and been a good support of our Hispanic-owned businesses. So we want to thank you. Ramiro, do you have anything, or LeRoy, to add?
I just wanted to share, Governor, congratulations to you and your team for setting up this fund. We're based in Washington, but we represent our national network of 250 Hispanic chambers. And I just want to commend you and Enrique and the Consul General for the leadership you have. We're very proud to be on this webinar to share our support and technical assistance on the Paycheck Protection Program and the other federal funding that's come our way. I do want to say that you're right, that Washington doesn't always get it right. And I believe, as Enrique said, as Alex, your head of the Rebound Program, shared, if you have made a provision, a good faith effort to make sure that the dollars that you're lending out, although 10,000 and below, that's the world of difference to keep a business alive. As you know, many of our small Hispanic-owned businesses have maybe less than 30 days of reserves or liquidity, but that's true of all businesses. And so if what the data shows is that the SBA did not lend to enough Latinos during the first 2 rounds. And so I would just want to ask you and your team to be cognizant of maybe having a good faith effort to make sure that we cover that window, if you will, as you said, that fell through the cracks the first time. So thank you for having that good faith effort to work with Enrique and his team there in Idaho to make sure that those businesses, that they have that option to apply for that grant fund.
Well, I want to add that our sign-up period starts at noon Monday and goes to noon Friday. If there's anything you need from us to get out to your members so they get into the application process, don't hesitate, because we want to get them. And one of the things I was worried about after the SBA thing, that everybody's going to fill out their form, sit there at midnight and hit send, and then it was going to blow up all my computers. So
that's right.
We made a decision collectively to have it over that long a period of time, and then if it's oversubscribed, to have a very proven lottery opinion, lottery process, so that it was fair. But we believe, and Alex told you about the numbers, we believe that we've got enough grant money there for everybody that'll apply. So
excellent. Well, thank you again for thank you again for setting up that fund, and Enrique for doing this webinar. It's perfect timing, getting ready for Monday to spread the word, as the governor said, to get people to get started on applying for these funds. And so I think that's where the Hispanic Chamber and the Mexican Consulate through the Consul are doing a great job to support you and Alex, Governor.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor, once again for your time, and thank you for also putting the information in Spanish, making it available in Spanish through your website, on the Rebound website, all the phase 1, phase 2, for making that information available in Spanish as well. We truly appreciate that on behalf of our membership. So thank you.
All right, thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you, Governor.
Enrique, do you want to continue to take a couple of more questions? We have about 5 minutes left on our committed time. And so if you want to continue to take a couple of more questions, we can. And so just let us know, and Richard and I can pose the question for you.
Yeah, if you don't mind, if we could take a couple more questions, Richard, regarding just see what's out there.
Sure, no problem. We had a couple of questions come in specifically for the governor, but I'm sure Enrique, with you and LeRoy and the team, were able to share a little bit of detail. Sonia asks, I am self-employed, and it looks like the additional Idaho grants for small businesses don't apply to me because I don't have any employees. Our unemployment hasn't come in, and we have not heard back from any of the SBA loan applications. What do we do? What do you have for us little people in the big pot, as Sonia puts it? We are in a state of frustration because many of us are the main breadwinners of our home.
Yeah, we are gonna, I just want to make sure before we run out of time, I want to let our audience know that we're going to continue to give out more information. And this Saturday at 9 a.m., we're going to have another Zoom or webinar to continue giving out more information regarding the state funding and more funding coming up that we have. So before I forget, 9 a.m., we'll get out more information on this. But in terms of that last question, Richard, can you repeat one more time? What was the?
Sure. No, the main question for the governor was primarily for folks that are self-employed.
Right.
The Idaho grants for small businesses, Sonia says, doesn't really apply to her. So what should they do if they haven't heard back from the unemployment?
So that's a great question. And we're working with the governor's office on this. So we'll get more clarity on that particular question and be able to share it on Saturday when we do another Zoom or webinar. We'll get more information. But we're definitely going to take that question and some others that I've seen on here regarding our Rebound grant here in the state of Idaho. And we'll be speaking with the governor's office and to get more clarity on that and be able to share that with you through our, or you can give us a call as well, or we'll put it out there. So we'll get to that.
Okay, perfect. And if y'all don't mind, maybe we can do one, if not two more questions, just to be respectful of everyone's time. And we know the Consul is still here with us, and we want, as well as many of our participants. And so Diane asks, I'm sorry that she was making a comment. Lourdes asks, my Hispanic women-owned business is an engineering consulting firm, only one employee, so the firm could qualify for the grant. And as you said, I think, Enrique, that's kind of in the same boat of, sharing and following up with more information, right, on self-employed. Okay. So then finally, the last question I think that we have here is, so an anonymous question came in here, and it's asking, how can we as small business owners get involved in advocating for ourselves with folks like the governor or in Washington, D.C.? We have stories to tell, and we'd like to be helpful to chambers like the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce or the USHCC in helping advocate for more resources for our business. So how can they connect?
Well, if I may, Enrique, I think this forum today and the one you're going to do on Saturday is the best way to connect. First of all, is communicating their needs. Este foro es muy importante para comunicar las preguntas que alguien tenga y luego tener fuerte autoestima como persona y clarificar las necesidades de su negocio con el gobernador o con el senador de Idaho o los congresistas o con la ayuda del cónsul o Enrique. Entonces, I think it's just speaking, using your voice. Hay un dicho en español, el que no habla, Dios no lo oye. Entonces, es muy importante. If you don't speak up, God will not hear your voice, is the saying in Spanish. And it's true, especially in the American economy that's very competitive. This is not an opportunity for us to be humble about what we need. We need to speak loudly, talk to our elected officials, and give voice to Enrique and our consul for their advocacy, and make sure that we communicate it through a very loud and clear message.
Absolutely, Ramiro. Thank you so much for that. I think, you know, the voice makes a difference when we all get united. You know, in January, we had our kickoff on the state of the Hispanic community here in Idaho. And I ended it with, you know, Todos Unidos, right? Because you can't spell the word Unidos without Idaho in the middle here. And this is what it's all about, you know, us coming together and showing this unity, you know, and this is what it takes to get our voice heard by government. And, you know, having our governor here, Brad Little, today join us, because we're showing a united front, and with questions, concerns, and also good feedback too, and praise as well of the good things that are happening, and where we have some issues and some concerns. So I think that's important. I'm sure you hear that all the time, Ramiro, across the nation, on what's going good and what are some concerns.
And Enrique, I'd like to ask LeRoy. Thank you, Enrique. LeRoy, yo creo que tenemos una respuesta para el programa de protección de nómina para la gente que están empleados y ellos son el único empleado, ¿verdad? Aren't self-employed also able to apply for these loans, at least at the federal level?
Yes, so that is correct, Ramiro. Right now, the SBA has given guidance that self-employed individuals or 1099 individuals who are employed by certain companies as contractors should apply for these programs with their financial institutions. Si usted es un contratista o usted es el único empleado que es parte de su negocio, ustedes también pueden aplicar para estos fondos con un banco, una institución financiera. Es muy importante que lo hagan lo antes posible, porque sabemos que los fondos sí están escasos. Estamos esperando más fondos de parte del gobierno, entonces que sí pueden aplicar para esos fondos.
Entonces, gracias, Leo. Entonces, Lourdes sí puede aplicar por el PPP, por su compañía de ingeniería, porque ella es la única empleada, pero así son muchos negocios en los Estados Unidos. La mayoría de los negocios son empresas como la de ella, que es una persona cosechando su trabajo y ofreciendo sus servicios, y ellos también califican sobre la ley.
I think that an important thing, Ramiro, that I would like to add to is there's a lot of questions coming in about the difference between PPP and EDIL loans. And I think it's important that people understand that the PPP is a program. And if you follow that program according to the law and according to the SBA and Treasury, that program or that loan will be forgiven. An economic injury disaster loan is an actual loan from the SBA. It has a term of 30 years and it has an interest rate of no more than 3.5%. And even though it's a loan, we have seen in previous recessions that sometimes Congress has the ability to forgive a percentage of these loans. So I've been telling people, you don't have anything to lose. You should apply for EDIL loans if your business needs 30, 60, or 90 days of liquidity to keep your doors open, because one, you don't have to make a payment on that loan for 12 months after the originating date of the loan. Two, it's a 30-year term. And three, the interest rate is incredibly low. So that's the difference between EDIL loans and Paycheck Protection Program, is that the Paycheck Protection Program, the government is already telling you, if you follow this the right way, we're going to forgive it. You're not going to have to pay it back. On the economic disaster loan, that is an actual loan that you're getting from the SBA and that you would have to eventually make payments on.
Gracias, LeRoy. Gracias, Enrique, a ustedes.
So with that, I'll just, any closing remarks, Enrique, Consul, Ramiro, before we thank our audience for sticking with us and for taking the time this afternoon to engage in this discussion. Unas últimas palabras para cerrar y volverles a agradecer a ustedes.
A ver si nos da unas palabras el cónsul.
Sí.
Pues muchas gracias a todos, de verdad. Ha sido un evento importante que hay que dar seguimiento, obviamente. Para nosotros es muy importante entrar en comunicación también con Ricardo Garcia, con LeRoy y Ramiro Cavazos, de verdad, y obviamente con siempre coordinación con nuestro amigo Enrique. Y pues creo que será de importancia para todos nuestros connacionales de los pequeños y medianos empresarios de aquí de Idaho en general. Entonces, pues muchísimas gracias, estamos a la orden, estamos pendientes, estamos en la mejor disposición, obviamente, de coadyuvar y de dar seguimiento a todo esto en el marco del COVID y más allá de eso, que ahí viene el nuevo Tratado de Libre Comercio también, la siguiente etapa, y va a ser muy importante, muy interesante, y los consulados vamos a tener ahí una función importante. Muchas gracias, estamos a la orden.
Muchas gracias, Consul.
Gracias, Consul, y gracias, señor Rivera, por la invitación. Estar con ustedes de parte de la Cámara Hispana de Comercio Nacional nos da mucho orgullo estar con ustedes para ofrecer información de esos programas de capital y también de parte de la Cámara estamos aquí para respaldarlos y apoyarlos en el futuro y ojalá un día nos veremos en persona ahí en Idaho a la invitación que nos dio y seguimos luchando por la comunidad latina en Idaho y gracias a LeRoy y a Richard por acompañarme y su servidor sigue aquí presente apoyando el esfuerzo de la Cámara Hispana de Idaho y muchísimas gracias por tener este foro hoy invitándonos a estar contigo, Enrique.
No, muchas gracias, Ramiro.
A couple of final housekeeping items before we adjourn. We'll have a recording available for everyone and we'll work with Enrique to make sure that we distribute it the right way and promote, and we'll share additional resources as well. If you need any additional information, the USHCC is at ushcc.com. We have plenty of resource guides and technical assistance guides available in English and in Spanish. And for information with Enrique at the Idaho Hispanic Chamber, he's available at idahohcc.net. And so, en este momento damos cierre al seminario. Muchas gracias a todos por acompañarnos y desde luego a Enrique y al cónsul por su tiempo esta tarde. Más información se les hará llegar a sus correos electrónicos con los que se registraron y este seminario fue grabado completamente y se va a distribuir en colaboración con Enrique y el Idaho Hispanic Chamber. Más información del Idaho Hispanic Chamber está disponible en idahohcc.net, NET, y para la Cámara de Comercio Hispana de los Estados Unidos está en el www.ushcc.com. Con eso nos despedimos. Muchas gracias a todos y estamos en contacto. A sus órdenes. Hasta luego. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Gracias. Hasta luego.
Gracias. Un abrazo. Saludos.
Gracias. Gracias.